This is Mommying While Muslim, recorded live and unedited. Watch as Zeba and Uzma record their podcast, see their reactions, and find out for yourself what all the buzz is about.
Our trusted partner, Guidance Residential, the #1 U.S. Islamic home financing provider, is offering an exciting Ramadan special. This Ramadan, take advantage of their home purchase savings program by following 3 easy steps. Learn how to do that when you experience the guidance difference, and learn more at gr.link/Ramadan-FB-MWM-MAR23.
To record. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. This is Zeba Hassan with Mommying While Muslim. I am sorry that I have been MIA. And as you can see, Uzma's not here today. So we're taking turns during this Ramadan. And we have so many amazing things that we've been covering and we've been doing. And obviously we're doing all the things that moms have to do, plus the fasting. And where I have been missing is I actually was hospitalized with blood clot in my stomach. So for those mamas, I'm fine now, alhamdulillah, I'm on the mend. But for those moms that are ignoring signs, because we all do that because we're so busy, do not do that. And I recommend getting your checkups, doing all the things, especially during Ramadan. This is our chance to regroup, renew, refocus, and being more intentional with our health is something that I highly recommend. So I wanted to thank Uzma for holding down the fort while I was gone, and I'm back at it. So, you guys have probably already heard how many amazing, fun, exciting things we've been giving away. Join our Patreon because we're doing a lot of the behind the scenes. You can go to our website, mommyingwhilemuslim.com, and look for our Patreon link and join our Patreon for a cost of a cup of coffee per month. Helps us dedicate programming and these types of things to other people. And I'm sure you've been watching us on our socials where we are focusing our Sadaqah month on the Nisa Homes, which is a domestic violence shelter. And we're super excited to collaborate with them to raise funds to make sure that these women have a place to go during their time of need. But, we're going to continue our favorite things series because Ramadan is, as of right now, according to this recording, in full swing, actually almost halfway, believe it or not. And we're doing this blissful time of ibadah and connection. So one of the things I wanted to focus a little bit on is how our schedules change in Ramadan. And as a mom, we kind of have to get up. I don't go back to bed after suhoor because, quite frankly, I have to get my kids and have to carpool them and do all the things. And so you're working on all cylinders, right? And so one of the things that a lot of our parents are telling us is that for moms, it's an extremely stressful time of year. And counterintuitively, Ramadan is not supposed to be that way, right? It's supposed to be for an opportunity to connect, be mindful, be really focused on our spirituality. But because of all the things that we have to do, stress, it increases the stress during this time of the month. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about one of my favorite things and literally something that I use every single day. And it's called the Sabr app. So it's like Calm, but for Muslim people. And it's a guided meditation app for Muslims. Literally, if you're watching, I can show you. It's pinned on my phone. It's something that we listen to every single day. And the app includes research-backed guided meditation sessions through the Islamic lens. It's curated by professionals and Muslim therapists, motivational courses by reputable scholars, and even nasheeds that you can, drown out your kids or encourage your kids to listen to when they start getting a little bit feisty. And in fact, honestly, as I was talking to this young gentleman that I'm going to introduce, my kids listen to it every single day, including a lot of their non-Muslim friends. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But to tell us more about the app, where it came from, we are so excited and blessed to have founder Subhaan Ashrafi. Welcome, Subhaan. And thank you so much, because I know I harass you all the time because this is one of my favorite apps.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you guys today. Alhamdulillah. The kind words
Alhamdulillah.
means more than you know. And subhanallah, that, even when looking back at when this was just, a vision, coming
Hmm.
now 2 years later, subhanallah, it was, one of the most worth endeavors I've ever embarked upon. And, for what you just mentioned right now, literally makes
Yes.
everything, all that effort worth it. Alhamdulillah. So,
Yay. I'm so glad about that because I have to tell you, we're going to get into this, but first we always start off our podcast with the mom and the momming philosophy. But of course, as people can see, you're not a mother. And so we'd like to ask you a little bit about your mom and your mom's philosophy and how she raised such an amazing young gentleman.
yeah, absolutely. So, it's crazy because when I got married a couple, maybe 5 years ago now, at the end of my
Oh,
wedding, I gave a talk and I literally called my mom the MVP because she's literally been the MVP in my life. She raised me as a single parent pretty much from, age one up until now, or until I got married at
yes.
least. And, she really sacrificed everything for me. And it's truly been an honor being a son to my mom and just kind of watching her do everything for me and always praying for me and always giving me everything I wanted. And I think, in terms of a philosophy, something that I've really appreciated, and now more so now, I guess, as a
Hmm.
parent of two kids, but just how much trust she's given me. I think my career path definitely kind of wasn't as traditional, if you will, as I guess it was supposed to be initially. But her trust in me to pursue a lot of my passions and endeavors and things of that sort really meant a lot growing up, from middle school to high school to college, and now even now as a working professional. So trust has been really huge, and now as a parent myself, and obviously a husband to an amazing mother, my wife, I think that's
Mashallah.
definitely a philosophy that we hope to instill in our kids as well.
I love that. And you mentioned that your mom was a single mother and raised you. How has that background impacted um, the creation of this app, if it has at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, the biggest thing is like throughout my whole life, motivation has always been something very important to me. Throughout my childhood and my, early years in middle school, high school, I've always just liked to be motivated. So as a kid, whether that's watching these motivational cartoons that I would always watch and things of that sort, and then obviously getting older, watching basketball players talking about
Yes.
motivation, or going to the masjid for halakas, or just my mom motivating me by her actions and her words of encouragement. It's always been something that's I've always held on to. And as I've gotten older, I guess I've always wanted to kind of disseminate motivation at scale. Uh, so that's kind of the two reasoning factors, that and then obviously being a Muslim, to kind of combine the two.
Well, like there are so many right now with all the one of the things that I do, I happen to be a spiritual parent coach. So like that mind body connection is huge, and it was like these buzzwords, but really truly, if you look at Islam from the very beginning, that mind body connection was from the start, right? And now scientists are kind of catching up on it, right? Where they're saying meditation and prayer and quiet and being in quiet and being present changes the synapses in your brain. And we're kind of like, yeah, we've been doing this for centuries. So, and obviously there are apps that are trying to help people break through the noise of the everyday. So, what was your main impetus to being like, okay, we need something specific for the Muslim community, and then with the creation of Sabr.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, it wasn't until maybe after college where I started learning a little bit more about religion a little bit more intensely. So I
Hmm.
studied at a seminary for a year, really close to my heart, and you're doing that for 10 hours a day.
Hmm.
So that was huge for me to really just embark on this journey of, the spiritual journey. But it's not like work stopped during that
Hmm.
year as well. And I'm sure all of you guys can attest, like moms are doing so many different things at once. So still was working on work. I had a YouTube channel at the time, so was still
Hmm.
focusing on that and things of that sort. So, the spiritual component and then, this work life component were just so huge, integral parts of my life. I think when I looked at Calm and things of that sort, they're great apps. They're doing my wife, would listen to Calm and things of that sort. I just felt that it had that motivational lens, it had that mindfulness lens, which is amazing, but I felt like it didn't have that spiritual lens, which as Muslims
Mhm.
is an integral part of our faith 5 times a day. So I realized maybe there's a way to combine both. That spiritual lens, that motivational lens. I didn't know at the time how I would do it, but
Mhm.
I do remember vividly, like I had this idea at night. I thought of the name, like I knew it was going to be Sabr, and I told my wife this idea, and I always have ideas. And I guess the
Mhm.
sign if the idea is actually going to happen, if I'm actually serious about it, is if I think about it the day after, the day after, the day after,
Yes.
and it doesn't fall out. So I think a month later, every night I was just thinking about it, and I think that's kind of when I made that decision to kind of try to see if we can actually make this happen, inshallah.
I love that. I actually absolutely love that. And you mentioned how your mom really supported you, and sounds like you're your amazing wife as well. Because this isn't the traditional. The entrepreneur is not the traditional way that our people like to rate. We're like, they need to be a doctor. We need to be set. We need to be focused. And we didn't have the app of Sabr to kind of help us with helping our kids during that time. So, like, what kinds of skill sets did you develop over the years that helped you in the creation of Sabr? And this is more of like a how to for moms listening, if their children are not necessarily going down that traditional career path into doing something totally different and innovative.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things, and now I guess I'm speaking as someone who's done this, but now also as a parent,
Hmm.
I guess, is just
It's a
instilling.
very different experience when you're a parent and you're looking at it, right? Because you're like, ooh, how
Yeah,
would I do
and
this
I,
differently?
and this is all new for me too, because now I've never had to answer on that lens before until the past like year or two.
Hmm.
So I would say one of the biggest things is just like resiliency and consistency. I think that's
Hmm.
huge. For example, like on the Sabr app, there's so many different scholars, alhamdulillah,
Hmm.
and public figures, etc. on the app. It's not like I had them on a text dial and I could just text them and they'll just
Right.
quickly respond and we're good to go. Although some of them were, majority of them, it was all cold outreach. And
Hmm.
it's not like I sent an email and I got a response right away. It took
Right.
multiple times of outreach and follow-ups and just resiliency and not giving up after the first try. And the same was to every other aspect. It was the same when making relationships with therapists. It was the same when
Hmm.
making relationships with developers to build the app. And then we actually fundraised a little bit for the app on LaunchGood for a month. So that was another whole element of persistency, asking people to support this vision and things of that sort. So I think persistency with consistency will definitely make a huge recipe for success, of course, with Sabr at the same time as well, having patience.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, that was one of my next questions, because you do have some amazing public figures and some amazing scholars on the app that are doing great work in our community. And it sounds like you kind of just harassed them until they decided to be like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm going to be on this app. So how did you get some of these amazing scholars to just kind of buy in to this new thing that, honestly, it's the first of its kind in our community, to kind of like, this is something that's needed and I want to participate.
Yeah, so I think one of the what, and this is like a business tip, I guess, that I've obviously held on to, but is when I would follow up with many of these scholars and public figures and things of that sort, is I would try to do it as best as I can with as much respect as I can. So I would
Hmm.
have follow ups, sometimes urgent follow ups and things like that, but wouldn't press it in a way that's annoying.
Hmm.
So I would maybe
Yes.
insert a funny joke in there, or maybe something that I saw them post about on Instagram or something. So it's not like a copy paste personalized thing. And I
Yes.
think that really went a long way. And then also just not giving up. I've actually had, there's one scholar in particular. I don't know if he's ever going to watch this, but I've shared this story before. I wanted him so bad on the app. Like I just envisioned it. I revered him
You're
for
like, it's gonna
years.
happen.
Yeah. So I kept on following up with him on emails. I didn't give up. I think once a month I would just send him an email. And I would always include my number at the end. And I'll never forget, one day randomly I wake up and I have a video message from him on my phone. He
Oh
literally
my God,
recorded
that's the best.
out of nowhere. So from there, obviously we met and then we were able to collaborate. But it just goes to show, like, respect with your due diligence can go a long way to kind of get someone's response. Even if it's a no, you still build that relationship with that no. I've had many people who said no at one point in time, but then even after the app launched, I showed them and responded again with respect, of course, and was able to collaborate with them as well. So, yeah.
Persistence and respect, and if you can be a little bit funny, that's a great that's a great business tip, because there are like, I feel like this next generation of American Muslim children are really going into fields that are not traditional, and having the some skill set, that creativity, that resiliency is going to be key for them. And the reality of the situation is, if you hadn't had those skill sets, Sabr likely wouldn't be in the formation, regardless of what it is today. So I definitely encourage parents and let them know that there isn't just one way to be successful. And if your children are out of the box thinkers, to let them kind of do what they do, because you never know who they're going to ultimately end up with your support. So I applaud your mom for that, and I applaud your wife, because quite frankly, it sounds like you're newlyweds having babies, doing something new like this is a little bit scary. So the fact that she also supported you is an amazing thing. So, how do you, I know how I use Sabr, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but how did you, when you decided I'm going to create this, how do you best envision Muslim adults actually using the platform?
Yeah. So I mean, like I've kind of wanted to go about that philosophy. This is a great question. Like not reinventing the wheel. So
Mm-hmm.
Calm is a great app. It's the number one meditation app in the world
Mm-hmm.
for a reason. It's doing great work. So instead of trying to come up with something completely different, especially in a niche that really hasn't been tested before, my mindset was to kind of model the app both from a business perspective, but also from a high level content perspective
Mm-hmm.
off of Calm. So Calm has very high level topics such as like calming anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude, things of that sort. So I guess the test or the MVP would be to kind of model those very high level pieces of content through that Islamic lens. And that was kind of the initial test. Now, of course, 2 years later, there's so much more content on the app. But when we first launched, we wanted to start off with just these very high level, very important topics. And even now, you flash forward 2 years later, like the anxiety series, that's our number one series on the app. So
Mm-hmm.
it goes a long way.
So, and we'll get into that a little bit, because obviously I work a lot with mothers and teens specifically, and that uptick of anxiety and stress is so big right now, and I'm just going to put you on the spot. Like, in your experiences in kind of finding solutions for that, what have you felt has been some of the main causes behind anxiety for our youth in America today?
Yeah, and this actually is another huge reason as to why I wanted to do something for the ummah with that Islamic lens. Is because I mentioned I studied at a seminary for about a
Mm-hmm.
year or 2 years after I studied for that year. I worked there as a youth coordinator, so I was heavily involved with a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the local youth and things of that sort who would come, and it was to no surprise how to hear how much they're struggling, and I
Mm-hmm.
think some of the biggest causes of struggling. There's so many, but I think one big one is just like, the comparison culture type of thing. So social media obviously is huge. We all use it. I use it all the time, but it's very easy, and it's not just for kids. Technically, it could be for
Yeah.
us, it could be for parents, for anybody. But I think a lot of youth find themselves just looking at what others have on social media
Yes. The
that appearance.
snapshot, right? Like that snapshot
Exactly.
of a point in time.
Yeah. And that causes a lot of anxiety, depression. Why is my life not like that? I should be
Mhm.
where they're at. I'm not. My life doesn't mean anything. They're having so much fun. Why am I not having so much fun? So I think that, really, really, causes a lot of anxiety, depression for our youth. And, this was 5 years ago. So now with
Mhm.
shorts and TikTok, 60-second
Oh
pieces
my
of content,
God.
it's amplified, I'm sure, even more.
Yeah, no. Honestly, one of my papers was about the effects of social media on the teenage brain, and honestly, one of the main things that they say to help counteract a lot of the negativity of social media. So I'm not surprised that that's something that you brought up, is meditation, is mindfulness. And the number one thing is gratitude, right? So when you have gratitude, you have that concept of contentment, and you're more likely to not get pulled in and drawn in into this culture, that FOMO culture. I don't know what the kids are calling it nowadays, but it was FOMO back a couple of years ago, but into that culture. And some of the things that we as parents can do immediately is to help them in any situation look at what it is that they can be grateful for. And we're not talking about, this undying, like, what do they say, toxic positivity, but in any moment you can find one small thing that you can be grateful for, and then you can kind of add on to that. And the great thing about this is that's how I use Sabr. Like, I have one of my children, it has what we call, has the gifts of large emotions. And in doing so, he can get super upset and angry, and he will ask for Sabr, like, he will ask it for by name, because he knows it's time for me to go sit down. I don't believe in timeouts, but I do believe in time ins, time to be introspective and calm and have Sabr. So he will literally go take my phone, calm down, and then come back, and then we can talk about that situation. So that's another opportunity for parents to be able to use Sabr as an effective introspective tool for their children. And my children are young. My younger two are young, and they need it, and they suffer a little bit from anxiety. So that dhikr, you guys have the dhikr concept of, and I love that because from a Sufi Muslim perspective, obviously they've been doing dhikr for all times, and people have this mindset of, the whirring dervishes and things like that. But just listening to the words of God in a very fluid way really helps calm you down. So the fact that you even have that is absolutely amazing, and every time I go somewhere, I literally pull it out and I talk to people about it. So as you can tell, this is something that's super exciting for me, because we are going to be giving one of our listeners a free premium membership for the year. And do you want to tell them what is the code word that they can use in order to win this prize?
Yeah. So the code word, as you may have guessed, is Sabr. SABR.
Yes, SABR. So you can either email us at salam@Mommyingwhilemuslim, DM us at our on IG or on Facebook, and one of our team members will see which one came in first, and the first person, we will connect them with Subhaan to let them know that they've won the free premium. And I'm telling you, for other people that didn't win it, it's definitely worth Eid is coming up. It's something that I encourage people gifting to other people, because you're giving them the gift of calmness, of stillness, in a time where literally it's frenzied at any given point in time. So to have that ability to be able to calm yourself down, it's such an amazing thing. So, I want to end with the last question is, what is up next for Sabr, and what is it that we can look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we obviously mentioned, when we first started, we started making content based on like what we saw with Calm and things of that sort, like those very high level topics. But now I think the goal is starting to get a little bit more niche focused in
Mm-hmm.
regards to content. I think, for example, right now we're working on a 30-day series of 30-day series on addictions, managing addictions. We've noticed
Yes.
that's huge in our community. We've
Huge
also
in our community, and we don't want to talk about it.
we don't want to talk about it exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
so many are struggling with it. So we figured the app could be a way to help people with that. Suicide is a huge one. So
Yes.
that's something we haven't announced. I guess it's the first time we're announcing it.
Yes.
We're working on
Yay.
that, inshallah. And then obviously kind of really delving into like, motherhood. We have a series on
Mm-hmm.
motherhood,
I
hard
love this.
like that.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
kids. I think kids is a huge
Mm-hmm.
niche we haven't tapped much into. We started with one kids series, but we're working on like Sabr stories for kids and many other
Mm-hmm.
things for kids as well. I think that's beneficial for kids, but for parents as well.
Yeah, no, I volunteer my children as tribute. if you need test subjects, because I'm telling you, they will let you know, because they definitely do use it. So, and I love that you are acknowledging some of the struggles that we are having in our communities, because back in the day, we used to not do that. You would more think somebody was possessed by a jinn than they had a mental illness, right? And so, and now that we have more knowledge, we're able to help people. I mean, and talking about it doesn't make it come to fruition. What it does do is it opens up your mind and your heart for people that might be struggling with this. And what better way to have a coping mechanism, but in your pocket, right? With in your phone, in your pocket. I attach it to my CarPlay in the morning, and we listen to it on our way to school. So, I appreciate everything that you guys have done, and I've loved that you guys have grown so much. And I look forward to all the amazing things you all will be doing in the future. And just to remind everybody, when this gets published, Sabr is the code word. Email, DM, or let us know on our Instagram handle. I think it's sadly, I'm not on any kind of social media, so I always forget what our Instagram handle is, but I think it's at Mommyingwhilemuslim podcast, or on Facebook at Mommyingwhilemuslim. So let us know how else we can help you. And I am not joking. I am saying you can have my children for test subjects or whatever. If you'd have a beta model, let me know. I will get you kiddos to do that.
Amazing.
Subhaan, thank you so much for joining us here today. And I really look forward to seeing the amazing things you're going to do in the future, inshallah.
Thank you so much. It's truly been an honor. The kind words mean more than you know. And I'm just blessed and really grateful. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, everybody, this is another episode of Mommyingwhilemuslim and our favorite things. Stay tuned for another episode of one of our favorite things, and we'll let you know. Assalamu alaikum.
Our trusted partner, Guidance Residential, the #1 U.S. Islamic home financing provider, is offering an exciting Ramadan special. This Ramadan, take advantage of their home purchase savings program by following 3 easy steps. Learn how to do that when you experience the guidance difference, and learn more at gr.link/Ramadan-FB-MWM-MAR23.